YouTube to recognize that we're live. Waiting on YouTube. You gonna show something? YouTube. YouTube to recognize? There we go. Ooh, that needs to... We need to not have that come out of my speakers. There we go. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It has been a while. I think the last... I don't even know. It is my favorite band of all time. So, man, when was the last one? The last one was right before Ghost of Tsushima came out, and I did that just like a key art design showing samurai key art stuff. But, man, that was months ago. Things have happened. Things haven't happened. Pretty much everything's been exactly the same. But today, I am going to try my take on the Fifth Element as if I had been requested to come up with some ideas for a remake. Now, get some hair off. So I don't want to just screen grab and then, you know, just paint over it as like a, but keep the same lighting and stuff. I don't want to do all that, because if you watch the movie, which I love the movie, by the way, phenomenal movie. In fact, I have... One second. Nope, wrong drawer. Where are you? Fifth Element would be F. A, B, C, D, E, F. There you are. I actually have this special edition. Can you see it on the camera there? Yeah. Special edition steelbook case of the Fifth Element. Let's go back here. It's pretty sick. Alright. So, enough about my ridiculous movie collection here. Let's get to what we were doing. So, we're going to remake Fifth Element. We don't have a client telling us how to do it. We just have the movie and then say... Because the request came from Santa and the community. Or Santa, probably closer to that. So, just imagine a client contacted you and they're like, we're making a remake of the Fifth Element, and we just need to know what it would look like if we did a modern take on it. Well, if you watch the movie, it's very brown. Like the whole movie. Like, it's just brown. Let me show you some examples here. So we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix that brownness, but we're going to... I mean, you can tell just from this that it's just mostly orange and brown, which makes sense. It was just the art direction, but we want to change that. You know, we want to keep the feeling of the Fifth Element, this like campy kind of comedy, weird sci-fi world, but we want to, or at least I want to maybe play around with the colors and not, here we go, and not make it so just brown, you know, like every scene is very brown, and I just not a fan of it. Not every scene, but a lot of them, right? So what we're going to do is I came up with some ideas. I think the scene with the opera alien, okay, I'm thinking 2 different shots that we could do in this remake that were not really in the original. One is if we have, while she's singing, since it's more dramatic because she's an opera singer, then you would want more dramatic lighting, right? She is just freaking spotlit like some kind of dermatology video, right? Like she's just solid white, spotlights are white, the whole place is lit up. I'm thinking if it was a real show, and you especially if you have this glass in the background that somehow is not reflecting all of this light, you would want darker lights, so that way the earth and the windows wouldn't have giant white reflections on them. So in a normal stage play or something like that, it would be dark everywhere but the stage. But since she's blue, if you just use standard white lighting like this, you can see it just washes her out, right? So I was thinking maybe for a remake we could play around with the color of the lighting to complement her blue skin. And purple lighting would be really cool to see. Warm lighting for the actual chairs and auditorium and stuff like that. But for her being lit up in her stage, I'm thinking cooler colors like purples, maybe pinks, and then of course some blues mixed in as well. But since she has blue skin, it would have to be a different tone of blue. So I was thinking 2 shots. So one close up of her singing was just like dramatic. Hey, nice to see you again, man. So just like close up of her dramatic face as she's singing, she's doing that whole 2-finger chest dance thing. And then a shot of the actual auditorium as like an establishing shot, just so people know what it looks like, the whole thing. Then I'm thinking 2 other shots would be one of the city. I found some shots of the city like this that are cool, because it's like in New York City, but it's this like dry New York City where the water level has lowered significantly, so they can build these gigantic skyscrapers. But the thing is again, it's really brown, right? And we're trying to avoid that for this remake. So I'm thinking New York City like this, but instead of having just one advertisement of McDonald's, which is part of one of the scenes, I was thinking we could have some more advertisements and maybe throw in some cooler colors for the shadows and stuff instead of it just being straight up brown. So we're going to do that as a third shot. And then I'll probably add some more advertisements, use some... I don't want to make it cyberpunk, because obviously it's not a cyberpunk movie. It's more of just like a very off-kilter sci-fi movie. But I want to add more advertisements, so we got to find the balance between a crap load of advertisements that ends up becoming cyberpunk and a minimum level of advertisements that ends up just being too normal. So we got to find the middle ground there. And then for the 4th shot, I thought we could try to Subway. I'm not too sure, because the Subway shots, they're like what? Maybe 10 minutes of the movie, right? Like they're not a huge part of the movie, but I thought the Subway was a cool place because of all of the trash everywhere. There's just this mountain of trash. If I could find the picture of it, that would be cool. Let me see. Trash. Yeah. Of course I knew exactly what I was talking about. So there's this like hill of trash, and then this very dirty, very neon colored subway. And I thought it would be cool if we played with those neon colors and just did our own version of the subway. And of course, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just like a different shot of the subway. But again, another shot that idea I had, because I just, as soon as I saw Santa recommended Fifth Element, my brain went into overdrive. Another shot idea was maybe a different take on when. See if this pulls it up. No, not the periodic table. The dang it, man. So maybe this one. Tried to avoid weird cosplays popping up here. Dang it. The one I think I have. I don't know. The scene where she is in that table when they rebuild her, right? And she's in that glass tube. Spoilers if anybody hasn't seen it. Let's see here. Cameo. Sorry, my comments are super tiny here. For the blending style, what kind of image do you recommend to work with? Darker or lighter images? Sometimes I find when I'm on the blending style, things don't fit, so I gotta paint them all, and that delays the work. Yeah, so when it comes to blending, I would use... It really doesn't matter. It's really about what you're trying to pull out of the image. So, let's say, I don't know, let's just Google... Tokyo, I guess. Streets. That might work. So, let's find something just to kind of give you an example here. So, like this. So, with this, if you set it to darken, then what you're going to end up grabbing out of this image is all the shadows, right? So, yeah, soft light I never use. Soft light is basically like the wannabe of blend modes, you know? Like, it works. It was what I started with when I first started working, but really it doesn't do enough for it to be considered useful to me. It's too soft, obviously. It's too much of an implication than it is an actual detail. But, so for darken, right? If you use darken modes, like darker color, darken, overlay, hard light, stuff like that, you're going to get these harsh shadows. I'm pointing at it for no reason because you... Anyways, there's shadows here, and you can you would get these shadows from the darkened ones. But if you switch it to lighter color, screen, stuff like that, then you'd be pulling these lights out of here. So the image being dark or brighter doesn't really matter. It's more about what you want out of the image. You know, like if I was looking for shadows, then I would use a darker mode. If I was looking for these lights like this, then I would use you know, lighter color or something like that, or pin light, especially for LEDs. That's just really just depends on the photo. It doesn't really matter. It's not like darker images are better than brighter images. It's really just preference on that one. But what was I talking about? Yeah, so the table scene that I can't seem to find a picture of is she's laying down and she's being like created from this machine. It's basically this scene. Yeah, this is after she wakes up and she stands up. So she's in this glass tube, right? Which is very 90s kind of style. It's just glass. There's no lighting on it. It's just a huge white reflection and everything's brown. I thought it might be cool if oh, here's a better shot. Instead of her being in this tube like this, maybe she would have some kind of opaque glass, kind of like when you get that glass that you can turn on and off that becomes transparent or opaque. You know what I'm talking about? Electric glass. So instead of seeing her completely like this, you could have this kind of machine that has an opaque glass on it that's colored, thinking like orange or something, and then have just a silhouette of her behind it, but it's all soft silhouette. It'd be cooler. Like the cinematography of that shot would be more dramatic. You know, that's the problem I have with The Fifth Element, which is not a problem. It's just what The Fifth Element is. But if you were to remake it in current times, it's not dramatic at all. Like, everything is comedy, and it's supposed to be very campy and weird. But it's not... There's no, like, solid play of lighting. It's really just set design, and then they just light everything completely. Like, this is supposed to be inside of a ruin that doesn't have any windows, and it's barely lit by these little torches, but yet the entire thing is completely illuminated, right? And it's a lot of light. You could play with shadows, you know? We're doing a remake. Let's play with some shadows. So I think that's a general idea of what we're going to try here, but I guess we should get to it instead of just dilly-dallying about it. So let's close this out. And let's see, I got some references here, but I don't remember where I put them. See, are they in... No. Is it in here? Nope. Maybe here? Oh, it's not here. What is love? I guess it's not in there. Interesting. What's this? Oh, sorry. My bad. Oh, here it is. So, I picked up a lot of stuff. Just running through colors, running through lighting ideas, and stuff like that. Like this right here is a kind of general idea of what I was thinking of with having her silhouetted in this machine, right? She would just be this orange window for the machine, and then she'd be behind it. And it would still keep with the Fifth Element's color scheme of orange and brown everywhere, but it would still be cooler shot. So also, I found this, which is a royalty-free, or like a fair rights kind of usage. You don't have to worry about. I don't ever just Google something and download a picture from it, because then you run into like this legal gray area, right? And you really don't want to do that. So every time I download a picture, it's always from a site like Matte Paint that has just do whatever you want with this picture. Don't have to worry about people being upset about it. So this one is royalty free, which means technically I could just use this model the way she is and not have to worry about it. But I don't really like doing that because, one, even though it is royalty free, it would be weird if you saw your own face in a concept art, right? That you never knew existed. That'd be weird. But also, this would be like the alien. This is the perfect lighting, what I was thinking of for the alien, the opera singer. I forgot her name. But she doesn't look alien, right? She obviously is just some chick with some nose rings and some crazy lighting on her. So another way that you can do this is, and you can either paint over her, you can, warp tool, liquefy, whatever. But I stumbled upon a little secret Photoshop feature that I stumbled upon this years ago, so it's not anything new for my workflow, but it is cool. So I'm thinking she would be kind of in the center of the scene. Something like here, maybe. Something like that. So, the secret tool, right, is actually just a liquefy tool. However, Photoshop, I don't know when they added this. Like I said, I noticed it a few years ago, so it had to be at least years ago. And it's called the Face Liquefy tool. And if anybody has ever played an RPG where you create your own character, it feels exactly like that. But if you just go to Filter and then Liquefy, like normal, there's an option here on the right called the Face Aware Liquefy tool. And it's usually closed, so you don't really notice it that much. But essentially, instead of using the brush to... it's... that should be your profile picture right there. So instead of using the brush to completely just destroy her face, you can actually use these sliders and adjust each piece separately, which is great. And it's cool because it feels like a character creator, and it changes the face enough to where it's like it's not noticeable that it's the same person, right? And I've also tried it just out of curiosity, and if it doesn't have to be photo perfect faces for Photoshop to recognize it. Photoshop's algorithm that recognizes a face will recognize paintings. So like if you bring in Let's see. Let me find one here. Concept art. Of course, the one time I want character stuff to show up. Where is it? Yeah. Face? Concept art face? Yeah, there we go. That's better. So, let's say we brought in a painting, right? Obviously, I didn't paint this. Let me paste. Come on, man. There we go. So, let's say we brought in a painting and we still wanted to adjust the face. So this would be great if you're doing like character design. You can still do it. You can do filter, liquefy. And since there's 3 faces here, it should actually give you the option. Yeah, face 1, face 2, face 3. And you can pick which face you want to change. And it's super cool because right now we're on face 1. So I'm assuming they're going left and right. So for face 1, this one on the left here, if we want to change like the eye distance, we could just grab this slider. Oh no, it's on the right side, that one. So you can see here on the right face, the eyes are going in and out. And it's just because Photoshop gives you the option to change it. And you're not really doing anything, but it honestly feels like a character customization, which we're all going to be doing when Cyberpunk 2077 comes out in about a month. So that's going to be sick. But yeah. So let's do it on blue chick here. And let's make her a little bit more alien. Let's start with her. So filter, liquefy, and zoom in a little bit. So I want to make her alien, but I don't want to make her weird, you know, because even though that's massive eyes, let's make them bigger, but not that much bigger. Good lord. It's probably like there. Because even though the alien is this blue chick with weird tentacles coming out of her head, she's still like fairly pretty. You know, she's still something you want to look at. Not some crazy alien weirdo. So we're going to try to make this chick the new alien, which would be attractive, but still not super human-y. So let's tilt the eyes a bit. Like that. Eye distance. I guess we can keep eye distance the same. Nose height. Let's see. I guess we can make the nose a little bit thinner. Keep it down. Smile. She's like a moody opera singer, so you don't really want her just freaking grinning, so you don't really want to mess with that. But upper lip, let's give her some volume here. Mouth width. It's so weird the way it does this. It's a weird effect. It's cool. I mean, whoever thought of it, genius. And it helps a lot. Just gives you a lot of stuff to play with. Just like that. Forehead has to be massive. She has to have this gigantic 5 head because she's bald. So it would help with the headdress design and getting the tentacles flowing around. Yeah, there we go. Just that's a perfect chin right there, man. The crimson chin has nothing on this girl. Alright, so we gotta keep the chin somewhat normal. Jawline. If we make the jawline super thin, she looks more alien. But it also looks like her chin could poke somebody's eye out. You know? So, I'm I'm trying to keep like a thinner, but still not weird. Oh, there we go. The face width kind of helps with the chin. Okay, so let's try that. So before and after, you can tell that we've only changed little features, but in doing so, she looks like a completely different person, you know? Right? I don't know about the nose rings. I don't think she's a punk, or she has this kind of punk personality. She's more of like a royal, prim and proper orchestra lady, so we'll just content aware that out, which really messes up her nose. Let's try that again. Good. Then she's not wearing a hat, obviously. She has this weird headdress on, but it's not a hat. So we need to bald that up. Wow. Gave her her mind's eye. All right, let's fix that. So we just content aware, and it should stretch her forehead out quite a bit. Let's get rid of this eyeball problem. And then, yeah, there we go. That's better. Then we're going to try really pushing this content aware problem, which is going to be interesting. So we're going to just take all of this negative space here. So like there. And then all of this negative space. And just content aware and see what it comes up with. It's going to be ridiculous, whatever it is. Not exactly what I was looking for. So let's try that again. It looks cool, I mean, visually, but it's not super cool as far as something that would actually be in the movie. So let's maybe get rid of this line and yeah, try that, because content aware is so finicky. You can change like 1 pixel on it and it'll completely change whatever it generates. So even if you remove just a small line off of it, it'll be completely different. So I like this smooth blur back here, because it really focuses on her face, which is exactly what the shot would be, right? It would just be like a shallow depth of field kind of shot of her doing her crazy singing. But all of these weird mouths and eyeballs need to go away. So what we can do is we can kind of just very generically rough that out. If it doesn't completely get it away, we'll just paint it out. It's no problem. Come on, man. Oh, look at that. Perfect. That's exactly what I was looking for. Sweet. So now we have this. She's the main shot, but obviously she doesn't look like the alien. She's just kind of some chick in the middle of the shot with a shirt. So first off, let's kind of very roughly. She has this huge head in the movie. I mean, I'm not even talking about size, like just the freaking cone head height of it, you know? So let's kind of rough out a bit of a silhouette here. Let's change the mask to a bit of a feather. A little bit of a feather, smooth it out. Smooth like a baby's bottom. There we go. Sweet. So then I'll grab some of this background color, soft brush, because we're just keeping this very blurry. And we'll just gently imply what's going on back here. And then come back in, darken up the back of her head. There's like a bit of a silhouette going on. But you have to keep some of this blue because this would be even, she's bald. So this would be kind of like rim lighting. There's a bounce light on the back of her skull. Okay. Let's kind of brighten up by her neck a little bit. And then this light right here by her eye is really cool because we can play with that a little bit. Let's do like this. I want to soften that edge up a bit, so let's grab the blur tool. Okay, cool. So now this light back here is cool because I'm picturing like she's on stage, right? She's on stage, she's getting ready to perform, and she has, thinking of the movie, she's got the crowd and the auditorium to our left of this view, and to the right would be the window with the earth. So there would be a lot of light coming from the left side and maybe some bounce light on the right side, but really most of the focus is coming from the left, which works perfectly with the lighting already on her face. So I do, however, want to play with this light right here. It's just left over from the picture, but it's pretty freaking sick. And I think if we play with it, yeah, we could really bump it up. And I think what we'll do is we'll fake it, right? We'll do some fake stuff here, because that's what we're pretty much going to do with all 4 of these. This is going to be like a rough draft of how everything looks. So let's drop like a lens flare in there somewhere, just to really Michael Bay this film up a little bit. Or no, J.J. Abrams is a lens flare guy. Something like these, where the lens flare is kind of blurred out in the background, which is exactly what we want. So like this one. This one's cool, because it also contrasts the purple, right? So could do pin light, could do color dodge. I think that's cool. Setting it to saturation kind of messes with the colors in the background a little bit, which is working. It looks neat. So maybe that's what we end up with. It's messing up her face, so we'll delete most of that. But then I'm looking at the navigator up here just to get like an idea of how everything's turning out. I like it with this extra color added. So we're just gonna pretend like I meant to do that, and we're gonna leave that, and we'll find a different lens flare. So it's gonna be something cool, something legitimate. Maybe something like this, maybe. Pin light. Obviously it's way too red. Let's try color dodge. There we go. That's looking cool. Might want to maybe flatten it a bit. Do we want to stretch it out? Or do we leave it perfect circles? That's the question. What do we do about this? Or do we make it super tiny and then completely stretch it like that? Because that really brings out our eyes. Trying to think here. I think perfect circles, but somewhere other than right on our eyes. Maybe like there. And then this piece in the back is too much. This little bit back here is ridiculous. So see if we content aware, that might break it up a little bit. Be gone, Satan. There we go. Yeah, that's looking cool. Alright. So, instead of it being solid red, let's see what kind of colors we can come up with here. Let's do, maybe like a pink. Green looks cool. I like green. Green's looking legit. Or even this off green, because it makes it feel more like prismatic. Which one do we go with? Because like I said, we don't have to detail this much. Like, not this much, but like we don't have to detail this to be completely fleshed out. This is more of just like a rough idea that we would show investors or producers, whoever's working on this movie, and be like, you know, this is what it could look like while she's doing this thing. And you're like, wow, you know what, that's a good idea. And you're like, cool, thanks, Dad. I like this green, this like yellowish green, because it also fits this atmosphere of Fifth Element, where it's like super colorful. I mean, it's still brown. Like, everything's freaking brown, right? It's like you need to clean the lens, but it's still very 90s and 80s sci-fi, where it's just got very puffy jackets, vests, but then everything is super, whatever does have color is very colorful. And the example I can think of is when he's at the door scene with the guy with the mirror on his head, or not the mirror, but like the fake thing on his head. And you got this example here. So I mean, it's just a GIF, right? But, or GIF, whatever you want to call it. But even though it is kind of very muddy, the reds in the background stand out super hard, because it's just whatever is colored is very colored. Like, this blue screen is just super blue, right? Anything red is super red. But then the rest of the movie is just all brown, you know? And then orange is because they're using it to highlight the main characters, right? So Corbin, the main character here, Bruce Willis, in the hair era of his life, is super orange shirt. And then, of course, Mia Jovovich, super hot, but also super orange hair, right? So it just helps them stay together as the main characters of the story and helps them stand out. So anything colored is super colored. So it would be cool to have this super colored scene performance, right? Like, if you're watching something, you want it to look cool. So having this really crazy atmosphere of her like this is pretty dope. So I think that's cool. What we're going to do is we're going to first off fix her shirt, because her shirt doesn't make any sense. Being the Fifth Element, she shouldn't be wearing a shirt. So what would she be wearing? She would probably have, being royalty or whatever she is, she'd probably have like this collar style. So this comes around like that, sort of like that, and then just darken it up. Whoop. Still in the soft brush. There we go. It's because the lens flare is freaking ruining it. Let's go over it. Just kind of vaguely put that in there. We don't want to completely detail it or ruin the blur effect of the shallow depth of field, you know? So we'll just do something like that. I want to grab some of this pink off her face and bring it towards her neck, just so we have this kind of very subtle lighting, which I actually have to move in to notice, just to help distinguish the shadow off her neck. and her goozle area. There we go. So what we can do is we'll blur that. So blur, Gaussian, something like that, right? Maybe a little bit less, a little bit more. Yeah, cool. So then now she has like some kind of very implied collar suit, and then she has the main focus still being on her face because that's blurred out, so you don't have to worry about it. So we'll leave this after I fix this a little bit here. Whoops. We'll do that, and then I want to leave this part black because if you look in the movie, she has a black headdress, but it's just a headband, right? So I'm thinking it would be cooler if she had some kind of design instead of it just being like she's going to go work out and keep the bald sweat off her face. so let's figure out her tentacle thing. She's got 2 on each side, I believe. So let's move this out of the way. There we go. So she's got this one. It's super tiny because it's all I could find. She's got these tubes, right? Looks like 4 coming out the sides. And then she has this weird black face mask coming around the sides of her head. The black face mask and the neck piece are absolutely there just to hide any seams for her costume, right? Those tubes are just like super glued on this fake head piece that she's got on, and you know those black pieces are just to hide the glue. So we need to figure out, do we want her to have so many, or do we want her to have just like 2 on each side? Because having 4 is fine. I think 4 is fine. We'll just have to figure out how to fake it. So, separate layer. Let's start. Looks like it goes by her face. So like here-ish, right? Basically where her ear is. So, thinking if we do like that or so, something like that. And then just playing with the design of it, how it works. This part can go up a little bit, like that. Okay. And then she's got 4 tubes, so I'm not going to use this to paint. I'm just going to use this to figure out where they are and how they're laid out. But it looks like they're all touching each other. There's no space in between, so it might actually be better if we did something like this, and then the third one be right here, something like that. Then another one coming down like this, and then one underneath. I'm leaving a space in between them just so whenever I paint it in, it looks like there's a divide, you know, makes it easier on me. So I think like that is fine. This piece I don't like this. So let's actually break this up and do something like that. That, and then this one too needs to be fixed. Actually, I think that right there just looks cool by itself. We could add something like this. And then maybe like that. I keep saying maybe because I don't really know. This is a remake, which means we kind of have the freedom to do what we want, but we still have to keep it somewhat the same. So Don't know, to be honest. Let's change the mask to blur, or to feather. Quite a bit, because this is going to be completely out of focus. Alright, Photoshop, come on. There you go. Okay, and then let's make this a soft brush. Let's pick this kind of blackish purple. Let's do it all over. And then we'll do, it's her skin color, so it should be blue. But since there's so many different colors of lighting and stuff, I think it's fine if we kind of mix in other colors. So if we deselect this part. There we go. Well, ish. There we go. And then kind of grab this like dark blue that's part of her skin. Maybe throw in some of this pink in there as well. Maybe a bit darker. Okay, like that. Which looks very out of place, right? Which is obvious. But if we darken, overlay, no. I think darken would work if we bump the levels up. So, like that. Maybe. You can see I'm just winging it here. I'm just playing around to see which one looks better, because you never actually know off the top of your head. You can guess which ones are going to look cool, but in reality you don't actually know. And then we'll go ahead and blur it. Just a little bit. That's too much. Like that. And then the problem is the lens flare. The lens flare needs to be in front of it, obviously. But because of that, it's creating this weird color problem. So let's try normal. Normal makes it bright. Color burn is too much. Overlay is too dark. Difference kind of looks cool, but still too dark. We could try difference and then bump the levels up. Whoops. Well, yeah, like that. That's looking okay. The shadows on this black bit needs to go up a little bit. So, yeah, so, I mean, you know, without it, with it, it's looking cool. It's not exactly what I want. Maybe change the hue on it. Let's try to make it more blue, which we can do in color balance. Midtones, make it more blue. Highlights, probably be purple. Oh, blue's fine. Like that. And then the main issue is her head back here. It's creating a weird line in the tentacles. So all we have to do is just kind of paint that out. So if we just do like, ooh, too much. Maybe like that. So far away, does it look cool? It looks okay. I think we might have to adjust the size Something like that. Yeah, I think that's fine. It's this. I think it's these black lines that are too strong. So if we bring those levels up as well. Like that. Change the color because it's very off right now. Do the color balance again. Just make it blue. Since all the shadows here are blue, anything black would probably turn up kind of blue as well. So then, from far away, we got that. That's looking okay. I think that's fine. I'm trying to think shot-wise. It looks cooler without it, right? But she needs the tentacles. So, I think the problem might be the whole thing is too dark. What is wrong with you? There's something bothering me about this tentacle. And I'm about to just move on because if you spend too much time on one problem, you're going to be there all day. So it's usually better just kind of move on about it. Maybe opacity. Opacity is not bad. I think opacity works. Because then that allows us to play with it. Too much pink. Let's get some of that blue in there. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Alright, so that's fine. What we'll do is she has tentacles on the other side of her face, so let's put those in there, which means we will need to so we will need to fake those, which will not be difficult. All we have to do is kind of just imply some tentacles. Since they're going to be in the background, they're going to be super blurred out, right? So we don't really need to focus on how they look. We just need to have them there. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. It's a really good movie. I love this movie. Something about it, man. It's just like, it's cool to look at, and it's also just very goofy at the same time. Let's grab this kind of purple. Yeah. There we go. So then we need to blur that out quite a bit. I think like there is fine. And it also gives us like a little aura around her face, which is neat. Just gonna clean that up a little bit. There we go. We want to erase the line. There's a bit of a mask line. Just a smidgen. That's good. So then, that's cool. I think these could probably be blurred out more. That might help. Am I on the wrong layer? I'm on the right layer. I think I had something selected. Alright, filter, blur. Gaussian. Yeah, there we go. That helps with the shallow depth of field that we need. So just kind of blur it out like that. It's very blurred, but you know, that's what we're looking for. Doesn't make any sense technically with this being so blurred, but then her skin not being. You know, the skin's in focus, but then that's blurred. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of play with that effect and make it blend better later. Now we've got some kind of general idea of what's going on with her face, and her head, the lighting and stuff like that. So that is solid. I think we'll leave that for now. So let's move on to these. Let's move on to the zoomed out version of the stadium. Let's go with something. I don't know if I want it, if the shot should be directly looking at her, or if it should be kind of off to the side, showing the whole stadium from like the nosebleed seats. Or I also had an idea, by the way, which I think would be kind of cool. I think we should do that. This stadium is cool. It's some kind of music house, right? But the stage is in the middle. So I think it would be cool if we're changing this dramatic lighting that she would be lit from the middle, and then maybe have one side here, maybe this back side, be the window to show the planet. Which means we're going to have to edit this picture quite a bit. Ah, boy. So, let's get started here. What we can do is we can blend in some lighting just to help us with the atmosphere. Something like this. So let's do like that. Filter. Blur it. Not as much as her head though. Something like that. Okay. And then we shall put it on probably lighter color. Or maybe pin light. I think lighter color works. Lighter color is not bad, but just not feeling it. So let's bring in something else. First and foremost, because it's bothering me, let's go ahead and get rid of this negative space here, which content aware is very easy to do. Bada bing, and very suspenseful. Bada boom. Negative space is gone, except for this little bit up here. It needs to go away. Be gone. There we go. So let's bring in some lighting on the chairs. I know I want it to be dramatic, which is fine, but still gotta be able to see something, right? So let's mix in some cool stuff, like maybe something like this one. Let's bring that in. Yo, bada boom, dog. Bada freaking boom. So, let's do lighter color. No, it's too much. Pin light, I think, might work. It's a little creepy right now. All I have to do is just bump up the midtones. It's fine. The other way. And then some of the shadows. Okay. Maybe Divide is weird. Divide is giving this like kind of blue, crazy grunge effect to everything. If we play with the levels, I wonder if we can't keep that general effect, but not. Good lord. Freaking Predator vision. Maybe like that. That looks kind of cool. So then we'll content aware this weird stage box in the middle here. There we go. Now the middle is way too bright. So let's fix that bad boy. Could probably do that by... Obviously we can just change the levels, right? We can just darken it or brighten it. But in doing so, it's going to mess up the general idea we got going on here. What if we just do this? What if we just take this section and darken it by itself? That might work. Yeah, something like that. That's fine. Okay. So now this is a cruise ship, right? Well, you know, space cruise ship. So it's going to be like the idea that it's going to have some kind of Titanic vibe to it. You know, it's got some kind of rich kind of architecture, you know, where it's just very almost pompous in how luxurious it is, because it's a cruise ship. People are like, cruise ships are luxurious, even though, you know, the buffet is like, it's just a lot of food, but it's usually kind of crap. This is kind of cool. I thought this was cool architecture. It's actually a ceiling, but if we maybe, this is gonna be a big maybe, but if we stretch it, flip it, put it up like there, and then blur it out a little bit, not that much, yeah, something like that, and then darker color, lighter color, something. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think we'll just say screw it to that piece. We need this to look fancy, bro. We need to fancify it up, which means really just going to town on it. And honestly, I think if we bop it, twist it, rip it. You know, you can beat that game. Like, it's possible to beat it. It's not possible for me, but it's definitely something people have done. Let's change the color to some more blue, because that kind of greenish grossness is looking weird. Bump the saturation a little bit. That's too much. Something like that. What I'm picturing here with the stadium is, I don't know if you ever played Final Fantasy 13, but there is a scene where they have, once you get to that area where you meet Saz and he's got the little chocobo in his head, there is a like casino kind of place, and they have a Serendipity, that's the name of it, and they have a show when you get there. Serendipity FF13. No, not 13.2, just 13. Or is it in 13? No, it's in 13. This is where you meet Saz, and then they got the weird things going on. But there's like a, I don't know what you call it, like a celebration going on with fireworks and stuff and like this crazy light show, but it's all digital, right? It's all like this electric kind of light show. And I wonder if I can find a clip of it real quick, because that might help us figure this out. Serendipity. That's a 13.2. Yeah, Serendipity is from 13.2. What am I thinking of? Where you meet Saz. What's that place called? FF13 Celebration? Maybe? Well, I can't seem to find it. and I don't want to waste your time looking for it. But it's basically it's like a light show where they have crazy holograms and fairies and stuff like that going all over the place, and it's really cool to look at. And it's just classic Square Enix where they're showing off with their rendering skills. So that's what I was thinking about, but we can change. We can just skip that. So let's fix this auditorium here. Let's just try content wearing, which is always fun to do because you don't know what it's going to make. First and foremost, let's do the band, because if we don't, I'm pretty sure content aware is just going to copy them everywhere, and we don't want that. Okay, totally fine. It actually creates this weird wall effect here. Interesting. So let's try content aware this back wall bit. Like that. Okay. It's looking okay. I think what we'll do is we'll just go ahead and trash that wall. Just delete it. And then, of course, delete that on top of it. There we go. So now we have this kind of back wall to where the earth is going to be. But we still want to match the original windows from the movie. Which, if you look at the original windows, they have a bit of a gothic architecture, but then they mix in this kind of swirly circle kind of deal. I'll show you in a second. I just need to swirlize. There we go. And delete this one. Cool. So the original window, which unless you watch the movie, I'm not going to be able to find the whole window, but you can see from this. Oops. Okay, let's leave it down here. This kind of gothic arch that they have, but then in between they have these circles that change size. So it has this very, what do you call it, like a metal wire fence kind of idea, but then they mix in the circles because it's like planet, alien, outer space, classic, generic shapes kind of thing. So we're going to keep it kind of swirly. We still want to keep that very 90s feel to this, but a new version. So what we'll do is we'll continue messing with the auditorium until we get it to where we want it to be. We'll transparency lock, because that way if you content aware, it won't go over the mask. See? Keeps it. So let's fix the ceiling just a little bit. You'll see I'm very rough with content awareing because it's a good way to just kind of make accidents. You don't really want to consistently plan every mask and be like, whoa, if I mask here, it's going to do this, mask that. It's just play with it, man. You'll come across something that's kind of cool. This is giving that kind of vibe that I'm looking for here. Vibes for days. So let's get rid of that. It's too bright. There we go. So this is looking more like the Fifth Element, kind of brown with the weird lights, right? I don't like this bit at the top here, though. Yeah, that's fine. Looking at the navigator, looking legit, cool. Let's try this white bit down here. Something like that. Because the stage would be right here, probably. So I'm thinking something like that would be the stage. Sort of, something like that. So we'll take this already established goldish brown color and kind of just paint it in. Separate layer. I'm just going to rough this in. Because remember, this is a stage, so it's going to be the same material as the surrounding area, so it's going to have the same color. But we're going to add these blue and purple lights and stuff all over it because that's where she's singing. So it's easier if you want to add color over something to have the base color be the same as the surrounding objects. If it was just like this area is brighter, then obviously you can just grab a brighter tone. Obviously it's brighter. But since we're bringing in blues and stuff over it, it's going to change the color of the actual blue. So you want it to be, you want the undertone to be this brown, so that way you have some kind of match of how it would affect that environment, right? Just like if you put a primer over something before you paint it, it's because the colors underneath, if you just painted it, would affect the paint on top. So if you prime it gray all over the place, then it's going to be flat and you don't have to worry about the colors being affected. But here, we want the colors to be affected because it's going to be legit. So I'm trying to picture the stage here. I'm just going to kind of line it out. This would be like that, probably. And then maybe those are stairs. Going like that. Yeah, that's fine. So then it ends up becoming more like a boxing match instead of a normal stage where she's got people all around her, right? So that's fine. Let's fix this a little bit right here. We want this black kind of outline because in the original, the window had these black bars everywhere. So let's kind of keep that general idea. I don't know if we should flatline that. I think so. I think that'd be fine. So let's go ahead and content aware. See what that does. Whoops, transparency lock is off. There we go. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, it looks more like a ship if you have a flat line and then the curves and stuff nearby. So that's fine. We're gonna take our platform here and kind of blend it into the surrounding lighting a little bit. Like that. Bada bing. We'll grab the auditorium. This little piece right here is bothering the crap out of me. Content aware it out. Thank you. This could be the front row area, but you want to have like a gap between the front row and the back row. Just because I said so. Just because design-wise, it makes more sense that the rich people would not want to sit near the poor people. Like a bunch of losers. So it's kind of just get rid of some of those chairs. Like that. Okay, cool. Neat. Let's go ahead and get this black here in the front that's super dark. Just gonna fix that up a bit. Which would be interesting to see what content aware it does. It's always a guessing game. We won't know for sure. And that is why it's a guessing game. My God. Wow. That is insane. I do like what I did at the top. So we'll get rid of everything but the top bit. Because the top, it gives like this little hint of lighting back here, which is cool. These little chairs can go away. But this little, like, very hesitant lighting is pretty cool. And that might actually be maybe where these spotlights are that are highlighting her face, you know? That might be shooting down from up here and then up here too, instead of from below. This one being next to her eye is probably going to be on the edges here. But yeah, like that. So that's cool. So we'll try this again, but different shape. And see, I could sit there and paint this in, you know, I could sit there and design my own chairs and stuff, but it's not really something that's necessary. It's more of just content aware is great for quickly implying that there's something there without worrying about too much of an effort being wasted on it. Because if you sit there and design the chairs and then you send it in, they're like, the chairs suck. And you're like, well, I just spent like an hour designing these chairs. What the heck do you want from me, bro? But then in reality, if you just content aware some kind of guess of chairs there, since this is concept art and we're just roughing this in, then they get the idea that there's going to be chairs there, but there isn't a solidified idea of what the chairs look like. So you don't have to worry about wasting time designing these chairs, and then they have to get trashed. So content aware is really letting me down. So let's go ahead and just fake this bit fairly easily. If you think about the shape of chairs, all they are is a very thin rectangle line all the way across, right? That's been broken up. So if we just do that very quickly, because we could spend a lot of time doing this and we don't want to. So we can just kind of break this up a little bit. Like that. And then of course using these lines pointing towards the center will actually help draw the composition towards the center. So that way anybody looking at it, their eye will be kind of pointed towards what all the chairs are looking at. The chair's a little too wide. Just gonna break those up. Actually, just get rid of that line completely. Like that, yeah. There we go. And then, like that. We'll take this kind of off blue-red color, which I guess would be technically purple. We want it to be a little bit brighter than that. Yeah. Kind of just rough them in. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. We're just kind of implying that there are chairs here. So these are a little too bright. The reason why they're coming out so bright is because this is on the layer below. So I guess we should back up and do it on this layer. Yeah, that's fine. So we're just roughing these in, add some colors, add some blues, some purples. Keep them dark though, because this is the foreground. We don't want people really looking at this. This is more just so people's brain understand that it's a 3D space. Yeah, see? It looks cool, right? It's a little bit too bright, so we'll just kind of darken it a little bit. We use midtones and not shadows. There we go. And then you can imply more by just like putting these kind of lines here. Like that. Some vertical lines is like the backs of the chairs. And then your brain kind of fills in like, yeah, there's stuff here, right? It's not the important part of the piece, so it doesn't have to be anything crazy. We're actually going to darken it a little bit more in the end corner here. Like that, that's fine. Cool. So, Earth with an F, Earth. We're going to, I found a picture. I mean, I couldn't take my own picture, right, of Earth. I had to go find one. So, I found this one, which is pretty cool. And what we can do is we can shrink that bad boy quite a bit. Keep it rotated like that because it looks legit. Maybe do something like that. And then you can already tell that it's becoming somewhat of the auditorium that she was in without being the same auditorium. I think auto color and auto tone would be fine here. Auto contrast maybe. Yeah, I think just leaving it blue is fine. And then because in the original movie it's blue, it's just Earth. So then let's go ahead and rough in the window, right? But the windows, this is massive, right? This right here is probably what, 2 floors? It's like a 2-floor window. So we want to imply this arch to it without really making it just giant arches, because being 2 floors, if she's singing like this, in the background you want to see some of the arch. So by just not making it about the arch and making smaller ones in there as well. My God, can I draw an arch? Why am I not doing this? Welcome to my entire life. There we go. So then, do that again. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're just kind of roughing this in. This is on the earth layer, so we don't have to worry about that. Cool. I probably should have done it on a separate layer, but, you know, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I will just accept my failures and just keep going. So let's do it like that. And then I can't really see them, but I'm guessing where they are. All right. So then we have these arches, but classic Gothic style has layers of arches. So do something like that. And then these smaller ones will be the ones that show up when she's singing. The bigger ones will feel more like just part of the giant, you know, the whole window itself as a whole. If I could freaking do an arch. There we go. Oh my God. You're just gonna keep seeing me fail. This is pretty much, there we go, how I do curved stuff. Just keep going and going and going until eventually one's actually good. So then we're gonna do these little circles, which we'll zoom in on. So let's do, like, if I remember correctly, it was a big circle in the corner for each thing. Something like that. Again, this is a rough estimate. This is a rough concept, so you don't really have to make the circles perfect, right? We're just kind of making sure everything reads correctly. These little Mickey Mouse ears. Okay. These little guess arches that you can't really tell are there. They're like ghost notes in music. Go. Cool. So then, also going off of memory, the arch creates this kind of smaller circle ordeal on each side. But we want this to be, you know, we don't want it to be the exact same arch design. Because the exact same arch design had this kind of, went to like 4 little smaller circles here, and then it had the arch, little tiny arch. I think if we just do same thing, but kind of different, like, in case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm just thinking of different ways to place circles in this little tight spot. I think something like that would look cool. Yeah. Yeah, it's fine. So then we'll just do that on the other side too. Oops. So then we'll do the mini arches first, just so I know what I'm working with here. Like that. Just rough these bad boys in there. Did you guys see Haunting of Bly House came out? Bly House? I think it's Bly House. It's like the second season of Haunting of Hill House, which was amazing. But it's not Hill House, it's different people. Just notice this little gray bit in the background. Let's fix that. There. Okay. And then we'll do these circles. So I'm thinking just 2 circles. Or something like that. Yeah, where it's like a stained glass effect. Which doesn't have to be the same on each arch, because your brain will kind of just fill in that there's circles there. Or circles are there. You don't want to waste time trying to make sure everything fits perfectly, which, you know, You do when you're finishing the piece, but not when you're just making it. You don't really want to do that. Not when you're just roughing it out. But anyways, yeah, so the Haunting of Bly House looks pretty legit. I haven't seen it yet. I was going to watch it tonight, but it looks freaking sick. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. This part that's kind of hard to see, so you can kind of just leave it. You don't really need to worry about that. You could probably add some more little swooshes here, just to help sell this alien architecture. Or not alien, but sci-fi weirdness. Unique architecture, I guess would be a better way to put it. Looks a bit like a spider web. Okay. Put circles in there. You want them to be consistent, but you don't want them to be, like I said, you don't really want to stare at it for 10 hours trying to make perfect circles. But you also don't want to sporadically just put circles everywhere. You gotta have some kind of rhyme or reason to what you're doing. Okay, cool. So, I think that's neat. The question is, do we... Yeah, we'll put some lighting on it. So, just select all the black, because I just use solid black the whole time. And we're going to add some kind of lighting to it. Not much, but something. Not like that. Not like that either. Thinking something like here. Just like a little bit of that brown sticking through. But only barely. You don't want it to be super noticeable. Right? Okay. Cool. So then for the lighting system, as far as in my head, I don't really have an idea of what it should look like, but I have an idea of what it could look like. So let's find something like a concert, you know? They have all those light shows with just crazy lasers and smoke and whatever else going everywhere. So maybe we could do something like this is kind of cool. Edit, paste. There we go. I like these lines, but obviously we don't want the people, which should be easy if we just pen light or lighter color. Yeah, pen light does it. So I'm gonna bring these lines in, flatten them down a bit, put them like there, then duplicate. Well, we'll not duplicate. We'll delete everything but the lines. Like that. And then we'll duplicate, bring some more in, but flip them. Whoops. So then you have this kind of staggered lighting effect. Looks cool. I'm getting a little cyberpunky here, so I'm not going to use it too much. Just kind of want it to exist. So maybe like this. Where do you go? You go somewhere. Maybe further down. Like that. think that'll work. And then we just draw in our own fake ones real quick. Just to kind of give some difference with the pattern. We want to break this up. And then over here. So it creates this cool lighting where it's just red lines at the top. Kind of like that. Okay, and we'll break it up a little bit. That's looking cool, yeah. I can see that. It's a little bit too red. I mean, like I said in the movie, they do that anyways, but let's gonna bring them down just a little bit. Oops. Merge. Pin light. Bring that saturation down, boy. Yeah, so it's like that. Cool. So let's find a concert with like spotlights. You know, some crazy colors. Ooh, this one's cool. Yeah, this one's legit. What is this, silly string? I would like to go to a concert that has silly string. Whoops. Paste. It's like an explosion of silly string. That's cool. It reminds me of one time I went to Blue Man Group, right? And at the end of it, they had this explosion of toilet paper. And anybody in the couple front rows, which we were in like the second row, just got absolutely covered with toilet paper. And there was nothing you could do about it. That was great. That was, you know, back in the day. Pin light, I think, is probably the best way to go. We don't want it to be super silly string in this situation, though. So I'm going to blur it out a little bit. Something like that. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Flatter. And then could auto-tone, auto-color, and see if it fixes that brightness. No, it doesn't. Okay, so we'll just take the brightness down quite a bit. Because we don't want all that white. Okay. And then, to help get rid of some of that white and these people's stupid hands ruining my picture, kind of just content aware some random stuff in there. Nope. Let's try that. Let's just try all of this. All of this crap. Delete. No, I think we'll keep it. It's adding cool colors to the image. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Cool. So, with that, we could probably just do something like that, which obviously is ridiculous on the eyes. But if we blur it bad enough, nah. Darker color. Darker color is cool because it adds the blues and purples that would be coming out in the shadows. So that's legit. I like that. I also like this line it just made here. This is part of the image. But having it frame her face a little bit more is cool. I think if we blur that, that would look cool and just in the piece we already did. If we just blur that out. Something like that. And then maybe bump up the levels on it. It's a little too dark. Like that. So, before and after. Yeah, looks cool. I dig that. Maybe... yeah, like that. That's better. A little softer edge. There we go. Whoops. There we go. You freaking dweeb. Come on. Obey me. Thank you. Content aware. Not what I wanted. So let's just do that. Dadgummit. I have my mouse on like 9,000 DPI or whatever, so if I just breathe the wrong way, it just freaks out on me. Alright, so I want these lights back. I like these blues and purples everywhere though. It's looking nice. So I still want the concert lights though. You know, like the spotlights with lines everywhere. But you want them kind of facing towards the stage. So we could do something like this one, maybe. That's a little blurry. I don't want that one. I think this will work. This one has a bit of film grain on it, but that's fine. We're not using it for clarity. We're using it for the light. And we can add color later. So pin light. Like that. Have it face towards the middle. Maybe flatten it somewhere. So it ends up like this. Yep. That's looking cool. Okay. Kind of like these white lights on the side. That's cool. Okay, so hue and saturation, colorize, and then we'll pick a main color, which would be probably blue, right? Saturate a little bit. Okay, then now that we've colorized this little bit of a blue here, we can, just gonna soften up these edges real quick. Be gone. We don't want you here, you foul beast. Alright. So then, now that we have the blues, we can go ahead and start throwing in some different colors, color balance, probably highlights. Throw in like some pink and red to make it more pink. Yep. Then, soft brush. I think I don't know what to use here. Maybe maybe like an overlay. That might work. And then whatever color you want. That'll probably work. So transparency lock. Actually, don't transparency lock, but we need to turn this down quite a bit. Listen here. Thank you. There we go. So bring some of these reds and purple coming in like that. Maybe throw some back here to add just a little bit of, whoops, just add a little bit of you know, color back into the shadows. A little bit of lighting. Is that too bright? Okay. So then that's looking cool. We're going to content aware. Actually, I think it'd be easier if we don't content aware. Surprisingly. I think if we just paint this a little bit here on normal, keep it low opacity, just so I can see what it is I'm doing. There we go. And then kind of just feather it out, you know? Feather out the light. Grab some of this white, just add some brightness to it. So, like that. This is probably going to be the hardest picture out of all 4 of them, simply because this is more of an establishing shot. The city one, we have a bunch of city crap that we can just combine together and it's going to look cool. But as far as developing what this stadium looks like, it's a little bit harder. So let's get some of these lights back in here. Some of these colors. Just trying to see what it looks like. Okay. So I think that's probably okay. As far as adjusting the lighting for everything, we're going to do that obviously after I get all the photos put in. That's what I like to do. It's the way I work. It's the way I roll, bro. There is a square here that I don't like. Get out of here. Okay. So now we need to have her, which, since this is just a concept, it doesn't have to be anything crazy the way she's standing. So we'll just have somebody standing here like this, but she's blue, so we're going to put that blue, and she's going to be probably, she's walking up the stairs. She's walking up the stairs. I'm just trying to make sure the scale is correct. It's about like that, maybe like that. That'll work. So then let's throw some blue in here. Maybe there, a bit darker. That blue, there we go. Just make her like that. Transparency lock, and we can grab some of these lights, something like that. Just kind of brighten her up a little bit for a second. Like much brighter than that. Because obviously you see how bright she is here. I'll grab some of that blue off her nose. It's like that kind of thing. Then we shall take this one. Yep. Yeah, so that's that. That one. Found it. So we'll take this layer and we'll add some of these blues in here, which is pretty easy to do. All we have to do is just kind of vaguely put them in there. Some purples, some pinks, maybe some oranges and stuff to kind of, or you know, like a red. And then where she is going to be pretty freaking bright, because she is the center stage. So let's do something like that. This color scheme is actually looking a bit like NSR, that No Straight Roads game. It's a really good game if you like music games. It doesn't play like a rhythm game. It plays like a not hack and slash, action RPG, right? It plays like an action RPG, but it's all the enemies attack on rhythm with whatever soundtrack is playing, and it ends up becoming mostly like a boss rush. You know, it's more of like Titan Souls and stuff like that, where you just fight against a bunch of bosses. But it's got a great story, and art style is phenomenal. It's made by a Malaysian company that I can't remember the name of at the moment, but it is definitely worth checking out if you like games of that caliber. Even if you don't, check it out anyways. Because, you know, because I said so. Alright, so let's continue that line. Transparency lock. Bring some of these blues in here. Just help it match with the not perfectness of the rest of the image. Okay. Cool. The pink on her feet is also pretty neat. Wow, that rhymed. It's also pretty cool because it adds this kind of royal effect to it, like it's carpet or something. So let's give some spotlight circles in here, which spotlight circles are not perfect circles. They have edges or soft edges to them. So let's give them soft edges. Let's feather the freaking crap out of them because we just want it to be there as an implied edge. We don't want it to be anything perfect, but it's gotta be bright. Something like that, yeah. And then take some of this white, bring down quite a bit. Come on, down. There we go. Just kind of brighten it up. Maybe color dodge it up. I think that might work better. I think the problem is this circle sucks. There. That's looking cool. I think we'll give her a shadow. Yeah. Give her a bit of a shadow. And then we'll add some sparkly darklies in there. And it'll start looking like a legit scene. Since she's getting lit up from all over the place, the shadow would just be underneath her. And it wouldn't be that black either. It would be kind of like that. Like that. Yeah. And then we want to bring in these tentacles. It's very tiny, so you don't have to worry about if they look legit or not. But we want to put them in there just because they're cool. And then of course she's got the crazy jacked up head. Her barber must hate her. Well, actually she's bald, so I guess the barber would be easy. Okay, so that's looking cool. I think if we just kind of imply that her arms are out. She's like, yo, what up? How you doing tonight? I'm a blue bald lady, and this is off my new album, Shaveless. Don't worry. I gave up the orchestra because you know, or the opera because people don't listen to it anymore. So yeah, this is my new polka album. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Yeah, that looks fine. Cool, so she's chilling out. She's looking legit. Now we need to fix the lighting. So first and foremost, we need to make her a little bit brighter. Just because she's kind of blending in a little bit. And her shiny forehead would definitely stand out. So just kind of just imply this a little bit. Like that. Sweet. Neat. Now we can go ahead and do our little duplicate checkpoint. Like I've said 1,000 times before. Duplicate all the layers, merge them all. If we need to go back to a layer to fix it, we have the option. But when it comes to applying lighting effects, it's much easier when everything's all on the same layer. Because then you can just mid-tone, shadows, everything without worrying about what's going on. So highlight a little bit on the planet back there, just a little bit. And then I'm going to do some screen for the spotlights. Probably this purple. Something like that. Something like this. Maybe even over here too. Just have this general kind of blue, purple color scheme going around everywhere. Cool. We'll go ahead and desaturate the entire image because it's getting a little too vibrant. So let's bring it down. And then we can probably adjust the saturation or the hue as well. Just to get some ideas. Because once you have color harmonies like cools and warms and stuff, it doesn't matter what the hue is. It just depends on your preference. A little bit more blue. Yeah, that looks cooler. Sweet. As far as people being in the chairs, we can just very easily fake that by... Does this work? This will probably work. I'm on screen. That'll help. Yeah, so let's do some of this kind of thing. And then I'm just very, very sporadically. I have this brush that I made. That really all it is if you look at it, it's just kind of like hoops, right? But it creates, if you do a bunch of them, it creates this effect of silhouettes of people, even though it's not at all people. So it's really just to kind of guess, or to imply people are there without worrying about actually rendering out a crap load. So we're just going to do that. We're just going to basically stipple this around like that. And since it's so dark in here, it makes it a lot easier too. Cool. And then because I did it on the wrong layer like a moron, I'm gonna have to deal with the consequences, which means having to mask it instead of use the layer, but that's fine. That's okay. So, yeah. So then we'll grab my favorite brush. Just kind of throw some lighting over these guys. Kind of like that. Do. Just a little bit, not a whole lot. And then maybe some pinks in there too, since they're getting hit by all these lights. Okay. Then deselect. We can go ahead and just do a couple in the back here. Sort of like that. Same here. And I'm not really thinking here. There's not really a thought process on what my hand is doing. I'm kind of just wiggling it in the general shapes of people's heads, which is, you know, simplified. It's just a hoop with another hoop, right? So then you have the body, torso, shoulders, and then a head silhouette. It's really simple. It's not something you'd have to really worry about. Kind of just imply it everywhere. And people's brains, including producers, will fill in the rest. And then of course if they want you to clean it up and fix it up and stuff, then you can do that later. But this is just for us. So we can just fake it. Alright. I do want to fix the window area. I'm not liking the way it meets. It needs like a buffer layer between the stage and stuff. So sort of like this. I don't mean to whisper in your ear. I'm just trying to figure this out, which Usually, if I'm trying to figure something out and talk at the same time, my voice gets very quiet. Let's kind of darken that up. Oops. There we go. And then here too. Yeah, I think it looks cooler. Looks better to have like a, what do you call that? Like a curting? Molding? I think it's molding around the frame of the floor. Similar to like, oh, skirting. Is it skirting? I think it's skirting. Where you have like in normal houses and stuff, you'll have at the floor, you'll notice generally there's like this layer between the floor, or like this little lip, right? Like a windowsill, but for the floor. And it just looks normal. It looks like something everybody's used to, so it's better if you kind of just imply it in there too. So, just gonna add some slightly random, not random, but implied lighting details here in the shadows. Okay. How are these lights hanging? Well, there's supports. You gotta have supports hanging up, right? Cool. Cool. Alright. So, then we'll just select this whole thing and see what kind of auto stuff we got going on. Skirting. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Let's bump up the highlights. It's a little dark. Okay. So, actually, let's leave it dark. I have an idea. Since we're playing around with the lens flare anyways, why not add some more, right? Something to kind of add this cool, crazy, hazy, crazy, hazy. I am just rhyming today. So we'll just add this cool, like, crazy lighting, oops, lighting stuff going on here. Maybe something like this. Pin light, probably. Nope. See, soft light, this one I don't like soft light. The difference between soft light and overlay are pretty much null. It's kind of dumb. I'm not a fan. So I think we might end up doing screen. Might just be a lens flare sucks. That could be it. Let's try something else. Let's do something that adds lighting to the stage without taking away the point of the picture. So, something cool, yet weird. Like this, or this. One of these two. This one. And then pen light. Lighter color. Now we'll do pen light. Pen light. Yeah. And then auto tone. Nope. Auto color. Definitely not. Contrast works. And we'll kind of just put it like all over. And then blur it. Maybe motion blur might look cool. No. Gaussian. Gaussian blur. It's too much. What if we rotate it? Like that. And then just get rid of this. Kind of get rid of some of that. Flatten it. that. Bring these red lights back in. I think it looks cool, right? I'm digging it. I'm picking up what it's putting down, you know? Let's bring some of these lights back in, though. Yeah. There is a bit of a line tangent right here. It goes like this. And you can kind of tell when I do that it looks like that square is brown, but then the rest of it is blue. So we need to soften this transition right here, which is easy with content aware. It's gone. Maybe do it again for the sake of whatever. There we go. Maybe do it over here, see what it makes. What up, Nicola? Don't want that. Let's try this. You're not doing anything useful. What do you even do? Alright, leave that over there. That's fine. Well, like looking at the image, everything has something to look at, but this corner right here is super dark, which I'm all about darkening the corners, but you don't want it to be black. You know, you want some kind of something there, and it's actually so dark. How dark is it? It's so dark that content aware can't even grab anything. So maybe that'll be fine. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So that's the general idea of the auditorium. We have this cool hero shot. Would it be considered a hero shot if she's not a hero? Probably. So it's a hero shot of her singing over here on the right, and then just like a general establishing shot on the left of what the auditorium and everything looks like. And then for the next two, we're gonna try that idea I have for Lilo's when she's being made pod, you know, and then the subway idea. But first and foremost, I will be right back in like 3 minutes because I had Starbucks before this. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. All right, so what I miss? Nothing, exactly. All right, so I did want to say the requests for the community with Nintendo remakes and stuff like that were super solid ideas. I absolutely would have done like a Super Mario remake or Super Mario RPG, stuff like that, right? But the problem with those is they're so stylized because it's Nintendo that doesn't seem there would be a lot of painting. You wouldn't really use photo textures unless you were doing some kind of like Unreal Engine super realistic version of Mario. But if you kept the same style but just remade it for modern consoles, it would still be very stylized and you wouldn't use any photos for it. So, I kind of chose something that would make sense for matte paint for using photos, but I can always do something stylized later or something. I was actually planning on doing either Legend of Dragoon for the PS1, remaking that because I freaking love that game. That was the first RPG I ever played, and just seeing Rose and Axel in a remake would be amazing. But I was also thinking about even Metal Gear Solid 1, but but no lie, as soon as I put that post on ArtStation talking about the remakes and just asking for ideas a little while ago, it wasn't like 4 days later I was looking on searching the web, and lo and behold, apparently a Metal Gear Solid 1 remake is coming out. And I'm like, well, guess I won't be doing that because somebody else is already doing it. So, and they're actually, getting paid to do that. So, that's cool. But that was the original idea. And that kind of just got blasted out. So, back to what we were doing. We got Alien Chick, we got Alien Chick Show. Now we need to work on this Lilo Dallas when she's being made, right? So, you're looking at this glass tube, and it's cool, but it's not cool enough for like a current one. Yeah, Shadow Moses. I was going to do Shadow Moses and remake. I know technically Shadow Moses was already kind of remade on the PS3 when they did Metal Gear Solid 4 because he actually goes to Shadow Moses at one point. But you're not really there the entire time. It's not like the whole Shadow Moses. It's more of just you kind of visit there and then you fight Metal Gear Ray using Rex and stuff like that. And it's really dope. And then there's this whole scene with that creepy vampire dude that's licking the knife that I can't remember his name, and Raiden are fighting on top of one of the geckos while Snake has rocket launchers, and it's like this whole chaos thing, right? That would have been really cool to see, just Shadow Moses as a whole. But since Metal Gear Solid 1 is already being remade, I figured why double hash something that's already happening? I would love to see a Fifth Element remake. And if anybody sees this and wants to hire me for a Fifth Element remake, bro, hit me up. But in the meantime, we're just going to work on stuff that isn't already being remade. And we're in the year of 2020 where it's nothing but remakes. So it's kind of hard to pick something that isn't already being remade or has been restarted as an IP, like Doom. And I think somebody said Doom and Mad Max. Vamp. Yeah, well, I said vampire guy. I should have known it was Vamp, right? That's duh. But Mad Max and Doom they haven't really been remade, but they've had newer iterations recently. So that's why I didn't pick those either, because I love Mad Max. Fury Road was an amazing movie. And the way it was shot was very center composition the whole time, just so you could keep up with all the cuts, which is really cool. But it has been done, so that's why I didn't do those, even though they're not remakes. They're just kind of reiterations of what's going on. So let's continue with this Lilu shot that I was thinking of. This is going to be a very dramatic shot. It's going to be silhouetted, and instead of a tube, I was thinking maybe she's in like a capsule kind of thing, right? And I found this image, which is pretty cool. I don't know why I have it on the right here, so you can't see it. All right, so I found this image of the space station, right? It's actually showing space. But this shape is really cool, and I think it would work really well. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab everything about this shape, which should be fairly simple because it's such a contrast between the Earth lighting and then the shape lighting. So, because it's very silhouetted, so it should be fair enough. The problem is this piece is getting on my nerves. So we'll get rid of this bit. Do some cleanup here. There's a piece here that's not working. And here is not working. Actually, that's fine, because we have a little silhouette sticking in the window to add some depth. Okay, cool. So, whoops, wrong one. Control-Shift-I, inverse, then delete. There we go. So, with this cool shape, obviously it's just very masked out and kind of digitally and broken, but that's fine. We're going to fix that later. I'm not saying everything you do you should fix in post, because you're just going to add more work for yourself. If you can fix it early, then go ahead and do it. But with this scenario, what I'm actually doing is different, because I am using a different color to set the mood. So this digital artifacting that's going on everywhere is not a big deal. You can just content aware it out. And then when I put the silhouette orange and stuff underneath it, it'll kind of set the general feeling for the whole mood, even if it doesn't fill it in here, which it might. It might fill it in. Yeah, it's fine. It filled it in. Cool. This is a little off-centered. I think it should be pretty centered. We're going to fix the perspective on it because I don't like the way you're looking down at it. So we'll just do that real quick. Something like that. The slant looks cool because then it's not perfect. So being at like a tilt like that is cool. Content aware that bit out. There we go. So then we shall bring in that picture I found. This one, which of course is not Lilo or Lilu, but it does let us figure out how the lighting should look. Right? That looks cool. Maybe smaller. Something like that. Trying to think compositionally. I think off to the side looks cool with the hand kind of in the middle, like that. And then we'll content aware this orange back in there. And see what I mean? Well, I'm pointing at it like you're here. But see this orange down here and the orange in the machine? My favorite band, Orange in the Machine, instead of Florence in the Machine, is coming through the back, but it's creating this lighting effect on the instruments, which is pretty dope. Speaking of instruments, I've been playing the crap out of Squadrons, Star Wars Squadrons, on my PlayStation VR, and it is incredible. So good. And if you set your UI to instruments only, then what ends up happening is you don't have a UI. The only thing that you understand is what's on your ship's instruments. So like the radar, your ammo, the weapons, your shield power levels, your weapon power levels, stuff like that, you have to physically look at, versus having stuff with arrows pointing at enemies and information on the actual glass, right, of the ship. That's all gone if you do instruments only, which is what I did. It's cool. I like it a lot. So back to this. This is cool, but obviously it doesn't look like Lilu, right? One idea I had was I found this picture of this girl that's doing some weird stretch on the stairs. But I think she might look cool if we had her kind of like that. Floating, you know? But we don't like the stairs, obviously, so let's do the worst lasso tool ever created. A magnetic tool. Hate it so much. But it has its purposes. And let's get rid of most of what's around her. We don't want it to be... I mean, we would like it to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Because we're going to kind of blur her out anyways. To add this kind of silhouette effect to everything. Something like her butt shape would kind of go like that. It's probably needs to be fixed a little bit more. So we'll do that in a second. Doesn't matter if she has shoes on, because like I said, we're going to blur it, so you're not going to be able to tell the difference between if she has shoes or feet. Well, of course she has feet, but you know what I mean. And then her boob shapes go like this. Around her chin, around her face. We're not going to grab the long hair on the ground, but we can grab this kind of hair because she has short hair and she's floating, so hair sitting on the ground doesn't make sense. Her butt needs to be fixed, so let's do like this. Maybe round it up a bit. Okay. Sweet. Alright. Delete everything else. So now we've got this roughly masked out. Obviously, it's not perfect, but putting that in this capsule like this is pretty cool. So I think what we could do is, since there's no detail for everything of this guy that's kind of silhouetted, we can use him as a color base for this girl. Okay. And then for the background, we use the same orange, which is fine. We can just do like that. Nope, that's going to do the whole image. We don't want to do that. We will just do like this kind of thing. Let it catch up for a second, because this is not a 4K image. Each one of these squares is about 6K or so, so you're looking at like a 30,000 image, which is unnecessary, but I like to do it because then if you crop down each frame, you're working with at least 6K ish. So it gives you the ability to sketch out thumbnails and stuff, but then if you want to go into each one and actually refine it, you don't have to worry about losing detail. Because like if I zoom in on this chick to like there, you know, it still looks decent, right? It's not pixelated or anything. So we got all that going. But to get this guy's little red hinge here, or tinge going around, I think it would be cool if we first off blur. Actually, I think blur would be afterwards. No, we can blur it now. Filter, blur, a lot. Something where you can still keep the shape but not really know what's going on. And then we'll grab that reddish color from this guy's picture. Like that. And kind of just throw it in the sides a little bit. If we lower the opacity, it might work better. Okay. And then, yeah, I think this yellow is too bright. I think what we need to do is we'll take that orange and we'll bring it in pretty much all over the place, just to help her stand out some more. like that on the edges. And then we'll take this yellow, soften that up a bit. Yeah, so now we're getting this kind of foggy glass kind of thing where she's floating in there. Yeah, so we get rid of that guy, we don't need him anymore. And then we'll bump up the highlights on it a little bit. Like that. Yep. Cool. Now, for the capsule design, we can come up with some random thing here. I have a crap load of stuff to use. I think a fighter pilot equipment might look cool. We could throw in some of these helmet stuff in there. Probably like this one. And what we'll do is we'll just throw that over, lighter color, and then make it like pretty huge. Bring the levels down. To like there, where we get the details, but it's pretty dark. Get rid of everything but the helmet area. Get rid of all that background stuff. There we go. Delete. Boom. Sweet. And then we can content aware all over the place to add some like generic details, you know? Just to fill in this negative space a bit. And I just remembered, I believe I have industrial stuff, but maybe this is a picture I took of a boat engine at a show like a very long time ago. And it might be cool if we bring that in. So lighter color, of course, because it's so dark. Using darker color is not going to do anything but affect the orange, and we don't want that. So we could do like there. Like that. Duplicate it. So we have a bit of a symmetry going on, because it is something man-made. So we tend to have that. There we go. Delete this bit in the middle that's being duplicated. And on this one too, there's a line here. There we go. Combine all three of them, because I like to live on the edge. Lighter color. Go ahead and delete everything that's not in that frame. There we go. And then we can probably add some lights in there. If we do some of these stuff, something like these, that's what I'm thinking of. Ooh, these would be cool. Yeah, something like this, I think, would be cool. It fits that whole weird Fifth Element atmosphere, where everything's kind of round. We don't want to darker color it. Pin light? Pin light. So make it smaller. Like very small. Something like that. Duplicate it. Bring some over here. Merge. Whoops. Merge layers. Hitting that pin light. There we go. Then we can change the color of it, because the blue doesn't quite work. It looks like the gators with that orange. Honestly, doesn't even have to have a color. We can just desaturate it. Yeah, that's fine. Sweet. So then we'll delete this bit, delete some of this, kind of roughly go over it so that way it looks like it blends in better. And then we will take full hard brush, kind of just add some details here and there. This is not something that I'm actually designing. I'm more focused, like, this is not a design for the machine, this is a design for the scene. So I'm more focused on the way the scene feels more than I am on how the actual design of this whole weird thing is. So I'm not really thinking about how everything works. I'm thinking about more of what it looks like. I'm still in pen light, like a moron. There we go. Okay, we'll add some of this grayness here and there. And honestly, we could probably add some orange tubes in there. Too bright. Still too bright. That's good. So we could just kind of add some like orange wiring here and there. Dun, dun, dun. This is the part where you kind of just shut off your brain. Just start throwing stuff. Just fill in these holes a little bit. Then we can probably design some sort of glass etching. So we could either do the classic, just follow the already established shape, like that. Or we can do, actually I think we'll do that, and then we'll add some kind of other design in there. Maybe like this. Something simple, because it's fifth element. It's not, they don't have super complicated design. So I think honestly, if we just do that, that might look cool. So just like that, all the way across. Do 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 do. Skip it up. Boo ba doo doo boo. Do 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 do. Kind of fake in the edge here because it is glass, so it has a thickness to it. It's thick with 2 C's, so we gotta fix the edge to make sure it looks like it has some kind of depth instead of it just being a flat piece of glass. Okay, same thing here. Probably not so much up there because you're seeing the bottom more than the top. But we're gonna do it anyways. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this guy, Benny Sings. He's a musician. I just discovered him recently. He's like, I don't know, he's not new, but for some reason I just never heard of him until recently. And he's got this album called City Pop, and it is great. And it's just chill. It's got like this kind of weird, uplifting atmosphere to it, and it's really nice. So if you're working, I would recommend listening to his stuff. His stuff is pretty cool. He did a cover of Passion Fruit by Drake, which is solid. Okay, so I think we might blur out these circles a little bit. Like that, yeah. Looks fine. Cool. And then what we can do is we can give a general idea of how big this piece is, or at least where the capsule ends. So if we do like that, and then maybe like that, Passion fruit from miles away. And the things you say. Sweet. So then we shall lower opacity, freaking lower opacity. Thank you. And then screen above just a little bit. Just a little bit here and there, just enough to give you a little bit of depth on where stuff is implemented. And then we can just fix any weirdness real quick just by doing this kind of thing. Maybe there's some wires in here. Like that. That up. There we go. So now we have a general idea of how this scene looks, right? We could probably rough this in a little bit more. Looks a bit like a TIE fighter on the inside, which could just be me because of Star Wars Squadrons, but that's what it looks like. So what we're doing here is it's very chaotic, right? There's a lot of crap going on. But what we're basically doing is we're just making a general idea of what the scene would look like. So if you were to get to the scene and you see the capsule, the focus is not the capsule, the focus is her in the middle of the capsule. So it makes sense that the outside of it is kind of just all over the place. I'm thinking of it being like, instead of that room where they have the normal tube, I'm thinking of it being kind of like Matrix, where there's just wires everywhere, and she's attached. I mean, you know what's weird though? If you think about Mia Jovovich, she's got to get used to being in tubes, because she was in Fifth Element in a tube, and then in Resident Evil she was in multiple tubes at multiple different movies. So, you know, she's probably used to it at this point. So, yeah, so we've got those three going. It also helps emphasize the fact that she's orange. It's the main character in this tube, so it's orange. And then, of course, the alien scenes have this color harmony of blue and purple, which help emphasize the entertainment, you know? And it would just be cool for the music to be listening to and seeing all these lights and stuff going everywhere. And then, of course, the fourth and last scene that we're going to come to would be the subway. I don't know if I should do the subway or the city, because the subway is cool, but seeing the city with more ads would be probably cooler. I think we'll do the city. The subway we can leave for somebody else to hash out. But the city looks like this, right? This is pretty much the city. Looks like that. And I mean, that's cool. But like I said, everything's brown, which is New York City, so everything's already colorless anyway. But it's not, there's no ads, there's no advertisements. There's two. There's one here and one here. And then the rest of it, there's nothing. But these had to be matte painted. Like literally matte painted. I don't think these were digital. These were, somebody had to physically paint, right? An actual matte painting. So he probably just was like, screw it, I'm not doing a ton of ads. This will be as good as it's going to get because it's already going to take 30 hours. So I think what we'll do is we'll play with this composition and we'll just kind of make our own version with more ads. So let's do New York, concrete jungles, wet dreams, tomatoes. Am I blind? I gotta be blind. There it is. So, I think. 'Cause, I'm gonna go through my library here. I have a bunch of New York packs. I actually posted my whole New York pack on ArtStation. You can buy it for like $8 if you want to. Um, it just helps me out. If you don't, that's cool. It's like, I think 2,000 pictures or something like that. It's a ton. When we were there, I've been there twice, and both times I did nothing but take pictures for this exact reason. But let me see if I can find something here. Let's put it back here. So I'm trying to find something that's not Times Square, because you don't want that many ads. That's insanity. But we want to do something close to a street. And see, I thought about doing the city at night because it's Fifth Element, but I do like the sunset view that they have with Fifth Element. That's pretty nice. So daytime's fine. We'll just deal with it. Maybe something like this one? Maybe a mix? We'll do a mix. So we'll bring this in. Let's get our center composition going here. Let's go ahead and delete the Fifth Element. Well, we'll just turn off. So we want it to be somewhat centered. Sort of like that. Let's delete everything else. And obviously I'm well aware that the city doesn't have a street, really. I mean, it does, but people never use it because they have flying cars. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find another shot and blend these two together, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to go about fixing it. So for my New York pack, I didn't have my current Sony. I currently have the Sony A7R III, so all the pictures I have now are freaking massive. But for this one, I had a Nikon. This was centuries ago, 2017. So I had a Nikon D3300 that I was using, and which means the pictures, or you can tell, were like 3,000 by 4,500, every single one of them, just depending on which orientation I took it, vertical or horizontal. So, it's plenty of resolution for you to play with. It's not like my current Sony, which is 40 megapixels, so like, was it like 8,000 by 6,000? No, that's too much. I think it's like 7,000 by 5,000 something. It's like some weird number. So, currently, the picture's a lot bigger, but what are you gonna do? That was years ago. All right, so let's blend these two together. Fill it in. Fill it in. Thank you. I don't like this piece or this piece still sticking out like that. So let's fix that. All right, now you're just doing it on purpose. Don't you bother me with this bull crap. There. We're good. So then we'll delete off this frame and this frame. Thank you. Sweet. So here's the thing though. We have a street view with people walking and street lights and stuff, and that's not Fifth Element. Fifth Element has this kind of floor, or not floor, but like gap, right, between gigantic skyscrapers. So there should be a hole here. So what we're gonna do, first off, just out of curiosity, what happens if I do this? Weird. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to.
And this definition is non-standard
Alexa,
spelling of going to.
stop. Wow, trying to give me a heart attack. So we're going to take this, actually probably just this piece up here, right? Copy paste, transform, flip vertical, And it'll help create this. We need to fix the perspective on it. Make it more straight. It'll help create this kind of gap that we're looking for, right? Of course, there wouldn't be a gap here where the sun is. So we'll just fill that in with more building stuff like that. And then the gap is actually kind of like there or so. So delete like that. Actually, we'll go all the way down. We'll do like that. Maybe do something kind of variation of the depth here. Like that. And then delete. Oops. Delete. There we go. So now we got some kind of gap forming, which is cool. We want to fill in this bit here. Content aware, see what it does. It's probably gonna suck, but you know, sometimes it works. Oh, came in okay. Left some weird grayness stuff going on. Not a huge fan of that weirdness. Yeah, the 6000 is actually what I started with. It was funny because I was like, man, the 6000 is on sale. That's freaking sick. So I get the 6000, and then I'm like, you know, it's cool, but it's got some limitations that I'm not liking. So I'm gonna go up to the 6500. So then I go up to the 6500, and I'm like, you know what, this is sick and everything, but so I upgraded again to the and I just traded that back in, and then just upgraded to the 7R3 that I have now, and the 7R3 is amazing. The 7R4 came out. That's like, I think it's like 60 megapixels. That's insane. I mean, there comes a limit where your computer's freaking file reading is going to slow down so much with 60 megapixel images that it's going to take forever. So like 40 megapixels is totally fine for what we do, because that's already like 7,000 by, what's the freaking exact number of that? 70 megapixels. Megapixels. Or not 70. Whoops. 40. 40 megapixels is what? It pulled up 40 MP from Vocaloid. That's not what I was looking for. But thanks for trying. 40 megapixels. Way to just not tell me. That's neat. Resolution? So it's 7864 by 5200, which is, well, that's technically 41 megapixels, but yeah, that's a very weird number to say or remember. So with that much though, you have a lot of play, and you know, really anything around 4K, so 3840 by 2160, anything that or higher, you have a lot of play. 4K is a lot of freaking resolution. So anything higher than that just gives you more to play with. It doesn't make the picture better. It doesn't, you know, make your work better. It just gives you more room to mess around without worrying about pixelation happening. And then, you know, some people just like to add film grain and stuff on top of it, which is totally fine. That's not what I meant to hit. Whoops. And then that ruins the resolution anyway, so really doesn't matter. We need to fix this perspective some more. Something like that. Right? Am I doing that right? Yeah, that's fine. Cool. So, this is how I plan on doing it. Let's see if it works. I'm gonna merge these because, you know, live on the edge. And then we're going to take this line here and just content aware the line and see what it creates. It doesn't like so much jumbled details because it tries to blur them. Let's get rid of those advertisements. Don't want those copied everywhere. Also, the problem I had with the 6000 and the 6500 is the battery size was absolutely trash. It was like 250 pictures per battery, but with the A7R3, it uses a different battery that's actually like 500, I think, or 600. It's basically double, so you can kind of just go a whole day on one battery instead of carrying around 4 or 5 batteries. And they do have those battery grips, you know, that you put the batteries in, and it gives you the power between all of them, so you don't have to keep switching them out. But having to buy like a third party, or not even third party, but just having to buy like something else for the camera that makes it even bulkier or bigger or heavier, something you have to carry all day, it's really obnoxious. So I didn't like that. I was not a fan. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to content aware down here, get rid of some of these lights and street signs that are freaking out everywhere. Yep. Then we're going to content aware some of this because these buildings are getting really washed out, and then also the skyscrapers are massive in this world, so they would be blocking out a lot of this light. So a bit like that. Oh, I know, yeah. You know, speaking of that, I just hit 2 gigs down here, which means if I try to save, it might tell me I have to make it a PSB. Which, you know, it's fine. It's annoying, but yeah, okay. So I'm technically over 2 gigs, but I haven't reached it where Photoshop's gonna be like, yo, freaking PSB this thing up, dog. Because I was working with a file recently that got to like 5 gigs, and then I hit save, and Photoshop's like, yeah, you need to stop asking so much. Yeah, that ain't working. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint this in. We're going to take these nearby colors, kind of just rough it up in there. Just enough to kind of block in the fact that there are buildings back there that are taking up some of the sunlight. Yeah, like that. Then we shall get rid of that. Get rid of some of these poles. Okay. So let's take this bit and this bit here. Duplicate. Yeah. Duplicate. Transform. Flip. Vertical. Fix perspective on them. Bit more straight. Like that. So it gives the illusion that the buildings continue, right? And we're going to kind of break it up a little bit just so it's not an exact continuation of the one above it, or else then it's not going to look like the buildings continue. It's going to look like some weird mirror world, you know? You gotta have differences. That's cool. Whatever this is, I don't know why you would freaking do that, you weirdo. But it's probably because it's on a separate layer, so it creates this weird white fringe. There. Cool. So, now we need to add some advertisements. So let's actually, before we even do that, I noticed in this fifth element picture here that there is, I'll show you, there's like these walkways that go across the gaps, which are really cool, and I want to bring them in. So I found this picture that has real life ones, these coming across here. This is in this picture, you see those little walkways here and there. Those are cool. So we're going to bring those in. So let's turn off fifth element. There we go. Darker color. Kind of just do like that. And see, here's a good example, right? If I did lighter color, I'm only bringing in like the brights of the image, but I don't want the brights, I want this bridge. So that's why I just do darker color, and then I have this bridge sticking here, which is exactly what I wanted. And also, doing darker color is adding this cool detail to the rest of the image, which is phenomenal. Before and after. Sweet. Auto color it, because it's a little bit weird. It's too dark. Auto contrast, too dark. Auto tone, too green. So we're just gonna do auto color, and then we'll bring the levels up because it's just too dark. About there. Cool. Coolio. All right. Let's get rid of this. Cutting into our cool frame here. And let's see what we got. So we got New York. We got some of the lights. I think we might duplicate this little walkway bit. Have one down here, smaller, so it looks like there's further away. Out there. And then darken it. Like that. And then maybe do it again up top. Whoops. And even smaller, because there's one way down in the distance. Darker color, but since it's so far away, we need to bump up the levels on that one. Like there. Yeah, so that's looking about what we're looking for. So let's get rid of these trees. I'm seeing these trees here. Fifth Element did not have any trees hanging out in the buildings. There we go. Cool. So now let's throw some advertisements in here. Let's what do we got? What do we got? We got stuff. We always have stuff. Is it good stuff? Yeah, but it's stuff. Hamilton trip is when I went to Hamilton, or I went to see Hamilton, which was legit, but of course we got there right after the original cast left, so we saw the cast picked by Lin-Manuel, but not the original cast. So let's bring in some billboards and stuff, kind of like this. Over everything. Pin light, maybe. Yeah, pin light works. I said maybe because of the fact that it might be too bright. Lighter color is too bright, but pin light is too contrasty. We need to bring those levels up a little bit. Bit like that. Okay. So then delete all that stuff. We don't want people walking in the middle of our gap. I'm going to leave this car here on the right because my brain will just see it as a placeholder for when we add these floating cars in. So let's find some more ads, bro. But again, we're not doing Cyberpunk, so we don't want like a gabillion. We just want enough. How do you know what's enough? Well, when you know, you know. And right now, it's not enough. It's never enough. Definitely not in Little Italy. Not at the Staten Island Ferry. So I like this corner. That's kind of cool. Let's try this. Let's bring this corner in. So this is just like a gigantic billboard, but if we change the perspective and straighten it, make that line straight for the corner, transform, flip horizontal, which I could probably put as like a keyboard shortcut, but I just never got around to it. Pin light or darker color or lighter color or color dodge. I think pin light. Pin light just seems to be the best when it comes to any kind of advertisements. So then transform. We're going to bring this bit up. Whoops. This bit. Bit like that. And then kind of like that. Well, that needs to be straight. So a bit more like that. Okay. Get rid of this whiteness. There we go. Put it about on the corner, but not directly in the corner because it's sticking out a bit, like a sign would. Okay. Then we're going to take this bit, transform, perspective. I don't like perspective warp. I think transform perspective is easier to use. And we're just going to kind of do like that. This is backwards, but we don't want it anyways. If we content aware, it might grab some random stuff. Yeah, it did. Cool. Cool. Sweet. Neat. Alright. Get rid of this kinky boot sign, which is an interesting play. Never actually watched it, but I've heard a bunch on it. Fix this a bit, because you don't want... Well, actually, this is Fifth Element. They had real advertisements. But probably not Kinky Boots, because Kinky Boots is an actual play. If this is in the future, then you want something different, right? But as far as the watches and stuff go, that's probably fine, because, I mean, in Fifth Element, they had McDonald's advertisements. So, it's probably okay. Yeah, that looks like it kind of just blends into some weird advertisement. Cool. Let's throw in some stuff here. Nope. Let's throw in some stuff here. Nope. Maybe one more try. Like that. Nah, it keeps doing the same thing. Alright. So, we want to bring in some of these cars because there's so much traffic. Will this do it? Whoops. Probably not. So we'll just leave it. That's fine. Okay. Cool. I think this part, perspective-wise, needs to be changed. Because it's too harsh right now. It needs to be a bit like that. There we go. Cool. So let's go to this. That's these lights, right? Yep. Let's fix these up a bit. Change them up, dog. Let's mix them up. Office space available. We'll change that because, I mean, it's a cool world. We don't want to see ads for office space. It's kind of boring. Well, we don't want to get rid of them, so we'll just kind of break it up. Quit being a loser. Alright, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's do some of this, some of that, some generic swooshes. Okay. Yeah, I think that what it is this big square is bothering me. But if we kind of space it out a little bit more. Oh, and look. Without even trying, we kept with the lore and we have a McDonald's advertisement right there. So, let's continue some of these ads. Ow. Nope. Here. Yeah. Bring some of these lights in. Here and there. These can be duplicated. So let's take this, duplicate. Okay, let's try that again. Duplicate. Here we go. And shrink it down. Flatten it a bit. Put some down. Put some up there. And some below as well. But before we do that, we'll just do like that. Okay. Content aware this bit just to make it look a little bit different, because right now it's like the same ad as this one. So we'll bring in some more ads to the bottom area. I don't know about ads being on top, but the ads being on the bottom sounds like a cool idea. I also at one point thought about remaking that scene where she jumps off the building and you can see the city below her. But I thought it would be cool at night. And I took these pictures in New York directly below. So it would be kind of a cool little idea. But alas, that was not chosen. So let's do something like these, or these actually, more spaced out. Obviously that needs to be fixed perspective wise, but first, pinlet. There we go. And then we'll bring something like that. I like this red sign being on that side. It's kind of cool. So we'll duplicate this just so we can play with the second one, because we're going to get rid of everything but that red sign on this one. Like that. And then for this one, we'll play more with these other ads. So edit, transform, flip, flatten it a bit more, and then perspective, we need to fix it a bit like that. Should be like, probably like there. And then select everything but what we're keeping. Like that. There we go. So now we have some more advertisements thrown in without worrying so much about it being cyberpunk, you know? It's not cyberpunk. That's not the point. So we still get this cool city feeling of Fifth Element without it being gross and not what we want. So let's fix this. That's it. That one. That needs to be a bit more like that. Oops. A bit more like right there. And kind of just do like this thing. Well, not that much. There, that's fine. There. Cool. So, now the cars. The problem with the cars is we're not gonna, because like you look at these cars. I mean, they're freaking ridiculous, right? They were probably models that they just animated across the screen, but they're so unique and detailed that it's kind of a bit weird. Ghost in the Shell and MGS crossover would be cool. Cloak fight with Gray Fox and Motoko. Or Motoko. Motoko? I can't remember. That would be cool. Problem with Ghost in the Shell is that they already did a remake of that, and I know people hated it, but I thought it visually was appealing. And then, of course, Scarlett Johansson visually is appealing. But, yeah, that would be pretty cool. Like a fan mix-up of Ghost in the Shell and Metal Gear Solid. That would be pretty sick. You want to see something crazy? The Metal Gear Solid artist, I can't remember his name. Yoji Shinkawa. He you know is like the guy. Like everybody knows his stuff, right? you may not know him, but you've seen this. Everybody's seen this at some point. And it's freaking sick because the style is super unique. It's all ink, you know, it's very stylized and stuff like that. And they made a book on Amazon of his art, like all of his art. But my God, dude, it's freaking expensive. And we're not talking like a couple $100 for a book. We're talking like insane amount. Let's see if I can find it. Should be like the first search. Do 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 do. Amazon. $700, no. Which is still pretty expensive, right? But there's specifically this one. Yeah, so you can buy it for $306 from Amazon. And all it is just the art book. But I found some people were selling it on eBay or something for like $1,500. Like, can you imagine just, you know, your significant other comes in and you're like, yeah, babe, we might have to move out this month, but check out this freaking book. It's for my art, babe. Babe, where are you going? I just can't picture $1,500 for a freaking book. That's insane. All right, so back to what we were doing here. We need to get these cars situated, but the thing is about the cars in Fifth Element is they're not based, I mean, they're probably based on real cars, but they're not very real, you know? They're very kind of smooth. Very smooth, right? It's Photoshop. Going to catch up. There we go. So, just real quick, I'm going to save this because it is freaking out on me and I'm getting worried. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as a PSB. Just so we have it done. Because this is getting so massive with these giant frames, you know, 6K each, and then all these photos, especially this one on the right. Photoshop's chugging hardcore, and streaming, you know, it's taking up a lot of processing power. So, anyways, the cars are really smooth. They're very unique to Fifth Element. They're not something that you can just drop in a picture of a car, right? But just like we did with this, it's all implied, right? It's implied where the alien's standing. It's implied where the crowd is and stuff. So we're just going to imply these cars. And it's very super easy to do because all you have to do is, first off, we'll make a checkpoint. So we'll take our last checkpoint, duplicate, merge layers. There we go. So, first off, we will content aware this car. That's too much. Maybe like that. Actually, not even that. I think if we just do like this kind of thing. Like that. Maybe that'll work. Okay, fine. Don't do what I want you to do. I thought reverse psychology might work. It didn't work. So what we're going to do is we're just going to roughly paint this in, right? On a different layer. Please. Here we go. So we'll just rough this in. It's just a floating car, but they're very smooth, so you'd want like a kind of like a rounded body. As far as reflections go, don't worry about that at the moment. Just kind of grab colors off the car that's already there, and the reflections will kind of take care of themselves. So a bit like that, and then we'll kind of just darken this up a bit. It's a little bit too bright at the moment. And again, since this is just going to be like a rough concept, you don't really have to worry about this looking solid. We're just kind of faking it right now. body's a little bit too narrow. Let's kind of fix that. There we go. This is probably going to be the most rendered of all the cars, just because it's in the front. Yeah. So then we'll take this red, rough it in. Right now the taillights are too solid. Obviously we don't want this person's license plate. So fix that. Kind of guess it in there. And fix the logo to something not anything. Like that. Okay. And then kind of just rough in taillight. So I'm thinking like kind of rounded taillights like that. Yep. Sweet. Sweet, dude. Shaw, brah. It's freaking sweet. Alright. Let's get the door panel going. So where the door actually is. I do like this one massive window. So we're just going to curve off the edges here. Like that. Make it even more bubbly. Because that's pretty much what Fifth Element was. So we're just kind of round these off. Which in my own cyberpunk world is close. It's close to that kind of rounded off style. Except what I've been doing is I've been having like fins. So it's rounded off, but then in the rounding I've been putting these kind of things. So it's got like kind of like a web. Like that at the ends. That's what I've been doing for my cars in my cyberpunk personal world building. Because I'm so freaking stoked for that game. And so we rounded those off. That's rounded off. This is fine. Seeing through the window is fine because it ends up in your brain looking like a reflection anyways. It doesn't look like the window. So let's grab some cars. Probably not here. I don't think I grabbed any here, did I? Nope. So we'll go to my New York pack. America, New York. Probably this one, because we were walking around more. We'll see if we can find some shots from the middle of the street where there's cars on both sides. Yeah, like this. Exactly like that. Which is one of the cars, or one of the shots we started with, so that's cool. So we get rid of most of it. Leave the cars, obviously. It's what we want out of all of this. Doesn't have to be a perfect mask. Okay. Delete. And then we're going to adjust the perspective of it, which is easier when you zoom out. Here we go. Photoshop's really struggling with all the crap that's going on right now. So I'm just gonna do it like that. Take this one, shrink it down, put it like there. Maybe down a little bit more. Like that. These are a little bit tilted. Like that. Sweet. And go ahead and darker color. Adjust the levels because it's already in the shade, so darker color is not doing anything naturally, but if we darken it even more, blast out the highlights and just grab the midtones, we should be able to vaguely see cars here. So then we can probably go underneath it. Whoops. Yeah, so if we go underneath it and kind of just paint it in a little bit with some different colors, maybe some brown, because we're in the Fifth Element universe and they just love brown. So like that. And then maybe have like a bluish car here. And then, sweet. I think we'll put a taxi at the end there, which means we need yellow. So like here. And then of course we can always fake some cars on the bottom and stuff moving around. And at the top. You know, let's just do like this kind of thing. Just to add some more traffic flow. Kind of look like fish. Cool. Sweet. And see, all of those are on an above layer. So what we can do is, first off, we can turn down that yellow. And probably just do this. There we go. So then, first off, we can go underneath. And since this is all the same layer anyways, we can mid-tone blast this up a little bit. Go. We want to do screen with brown because fifth element, that's what they do. Saturate it a bit more. I want brown. There we go. Yeah. Because this is like a dry New York, all the water levels sank, so instead of it being steamy and everything, it's just very brown everywhere. So we'll just kind of add some brown atmosphere in there. There we go. Then on this car layer that we got going on, we can probably do the same thing with some of the faraway cars. Add some brown to them. Okay. Now we need to take these normal cars and turn them into floaty boys, which is easy. Just get rid of the wheels. Because if you look at the Fifth Element cars, it looks like that's what they did. It honestly just looks like they took the body of a normal car and just got rid of the wheels. There we go. So then go back to normal. Go back to normal. Thank you. Sweet. And then we'll kind of just rough in these cars a little bit here. Keeping them a little bit dark just so you can see them easier. Everything's okay. This area in the middle here is very dark, and that's just part of the main layer. So we can content aware that out. That's not a biggie. No biggie smalls here. There we go. So then we'll also screen that out. Screen out this whole area in the middle here with the soft brush. Nope, that's not what I did. Photoshop is really freaking out on me. It's like, you can't ask so much. Alright. So we'll kind of screen that out, but it needs to be more brown. Yeah. There we go. Sweet. And then we can kind of fake some depth with the buildings, some Johnny Depp. If we just mask out some of it. Like that. And then mask here. And when it comes to masking out buildings, really just kind of follow the general shape. You don't really have to think about exactly which building you want in the front, which one in the back. You can just select and eventually it makes sense. It's not something you really have to focus on. There we go. Screen those out a little bit more from the sides, like that. Yeah, there we go. So Now we will add some tail lights to these broken, or not broken, but these floating cars here on the left. Add some of that red for the tail lights. Here and here. On a different layer, please. Here. 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 Again, this is a rough concept, so you don't really have to design anything. You're kind of just thinking about what's going on. Man, I am starving. I'm gonna devour some Vietnamese food after this. Alright, so some there. Cool. Sweet. If we wanted to, we could probably add another layer of cars. Suggested cars. Probably like here or so. Going that way. Like that. Space it out where it's not so perfectly spaced. Because it's traffic, people aren't perfectly driving because they suck at driving. But they are, you know, somewhat spaced correctly. Yeah, something like that. If you wanted to, you can even put some red on the butts implied. There we go. And then actually let's make, yeah, it's a one-way. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. So now let's screen out those cars. Transparency lock. Grab that brown. And kind of just push those back as well. A little bit. Not much. Like that. There we go. Then, whoops. Then we'll make a checkpoint. Play with the lighting. And probably be done, to be honest. So let's select just this frame. Like that. Auto tone, see what happens. Nope, too dark. Auto color. Nope, it tries to get rid of the brown, but we want the brown. Alright, cool, so that's fine. So we will go ahead and adjust the shadows. It's a little bit too dark on the edges. You want it dark on the edges, but you don't want it too dark on the edges. Okay. Let's kind of darken that bit up. We want to brighten up around this car and these cars. So we'll go ahead and do that. If we just select the car, like that, and then even do like a little fake one here. Actually, something like that, or just coming across would look kind of cool. Because this place is full of cars. Okay. So we'll grab all of these. And we will screen behind them, so Control-Shift-I. And it'll help them stand out a little bit. If we just like do like that. Just a smidgen. Just a little smidge. Like that. Yeah. Then Control-Shift-I. And normal. Boop doot doot. Make this one darker. There we go. That's too dark. Something like that probably. Yeah. Yeah. It's looking cool. So then we might adjust the color balance and make it more brown, because right now the shadows are still blue. So color balance, shadows, make it more red. Just a little bit red and yellow to make it more brown. All the way through. Yeah, so something like that, right? That looks cool. And then we can go ahead and just play around with some of the lighting as well, if we go to midtones, not highlights, thank you. We can bump this up in the middle here. Some of that up. Too much. Some of that right there. A little bit of that. A little bit of this. Some of that. Even some more of this. There we go. And then still a little dark, so we'll just bump up the levels a little bit. About there, probably. And there we go. Yeah. So this would be my general idea of like the rough draft. Like obviously this is just like the first draft of some scene generation for Fifth Element remake. You know, using modern lighting and stuff like that and general ideas. I think it came out pretty cool. Of course, this chick over here in the top right is probably the coolest out of everything. I think I will probably adjust this a little bit. Actually, if I sharpen it, it might work. Sharpen, there we go. So if I just kind of sharpen this blur on her face a little bit, or better yet, yeah, that's not gonna work. Let's do this. Come on, Photoshop. Come on. Oh boy, there we go. So let's go to blur. Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate it. I do need to fix her chin. She's got a little double chin. That's not actually a double chin, but you know, it's like a little line right there. So let's go ahead and blur out her freckles. I think if we make the shallow depth of field just her eye area, it'll help this this problem with her headdress being too soft. Okay. Why are you not blurring? Obey me. Is it blurring? I'm just not noticing. Yeah, it is. I'm just blind. Okay. So we'll blur here a little bit on the side of her eye. Just keep softening that edge a little bit. Okay, then this line right here should be her headdress piece, which we never got to finish. So let's do that. A separate layer, mask. Actually, it doesn't matter on the mask because we're on a separate layer. So cancel. And we'll just bring in some of that darkness imprisoning me, all that I see. Darkness imprisoning me, all that I see. Sweet. So then we can go ahead and blur that out like crazy. Because we're just implying her headdress, you know, we're not actually designing it yet. If we were to design one, we'd probably like do a character where you just get like a concept of her face and then different headdresses on top of it, you know. Let's try lens blur. Because if we do a vertical lens blur, we can match that depth of field situation that we got going on. So let's bump that up. I don't know if that would work. I'm used to tilt shift. I've never actually played around with lens blur. So let's see if this works. Sorta, but not really. So what we'll do is we'll just tilt shift it. So blur. I guess field blur would probably work too, right? Because we can put it here. Oh, right. Right. Not field blur. I was wondering what was going on. Cancel. We want tilt shift works. Might as well just use tilt shift. So we'll just move this around to here, about on our eye, and then we'll rotate it, which wherever that is. I don't use these that much. How does one rotate? Ah, I found it. So rotate probably right on our eye. We want to make it thinner though, so we'll grab not that, this. I'm gonna make this thinner. So like right on her eye and her face area. And then kind of just blur this out like that. And blur a lot. It's working here, but this side is not. So we might need to make this thinner. Kind of like that. And distortion. Okay. It's weird that it can preview a blur so easily, but then when you hit do it, it's like, all right, give me a few minutes, all right? Strange. This is going to take an hour and a half. So actually, we'll just do Gaussian blur. Oh, cancel, please. Come on. Please. Help. The stream. It's killing Adobe. I can't even cancel. For the love of God and everything that is holy. Well, guess we're waiting on that. So, yeah, I mean, I'll probably release a, whenever Photoshop decides to stop, I'll probably release on ArtStation this storyboard, or this, I guess this would be like a mood board. Something like that, just key art thumbnails. And then I'll release the full size of her, because obviously out of all of these, she's the coolest one. So I'll release her as like a full-on, like full 4K image. As soon as Photoshop decides to chill out and let me either cancel or just quit blurring, please. Oh my God, I believe in you. Come on, man. Oh, you know what? I think I just realized why it's taking so long. I think maybe? No, it shouldn't be. I thought maybe I blurred the entire, all 4 frames, but I think I just did the headdress. But, you know. Any minute. Oh my God, I got to cancel. Whoa. We did it. We survived. Alright, now let's blur that. Blur, Gaussian blur for just sake of getting on with our lives here. we'll just do like that. Adjust the darkness on it. It's too dark at the moment. It's got to match the rest of the scene. Like that. Cool. And then we'll fix this up a little bit. Like that. Neato. Maximum overdrive. Like we're gonna blur it. Alright, let's get this double chin fixed. It's probably not the first time that's ever been said. We got these little weird lines going on here. And we need to just kind of fix that up a bit. Like this one, especially. Okay, and it's really easy to do. Just soft brush whatever the surrounding color is and you'll be fine. Okay. And then check it, see if it's good. Looks good to me. Sweet. Alright, so what we'll do is, first off, fix this little piece that's bothering me. Nope. Yeah, there you go. That's gone. That's good. Sweet. Cool. Neat. This little digital artifacting back here is a little weird. I need to really blur out her headpiece bit here. So we can just kind of do like that. Actually, it'd probably be better if I just use the blur. Nope. So how about we do this then? Better idea. We'll just mask this whole bit like that. And then blur the crap out of it. And it's not that I'm blurring it because I don't want people to look at it. I'm blurring it because it's not the focal point. But I guess it makes more sense to have it in focus because the focus line is actually like, why am I not painting? Yeah. So the focus line is actually like there, right? It's going like this kind of thing. So this bit would be in focus, but this bit and this bit would not. So let's change that. Filter, blur gallery, nope. Blur, Gaussian blur, thank you. And then we want to blur it, but we want to softly blur it. We don't want it to be super different. And then we can blur this bit a little bit. You know what? It's content where we're here. There. It's hard enough to be considered in focus, but you know, it's still blurred out, so it's not the focal point. Sweet. Alright, yeah. So this has been, you know, my attempt on remaking brown and making it less brown. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will probably do another stream right before Cyberpunk comes out. Actually, probably right before the PS5 comes out. Because PS5 comes out November 12th. It's currently the 10th. Whatever the Saturday is before the PS5 comes out. I'll probably do another one to do a Cyberpunk idea that I have in mind of a train station. which would be for my personal world, but it, because Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out, we can rock out some futuristic, colorful dirtiness. So, thank you for joining in. Thank you for dealing with my random rambles. And I hope you guys have a great weekend. Well, I guess, great Sunday, because it's already 7 o'clock my time here on Saturday. So, great whatever you have left. And I will see you guys at some point. All right. Take it easy.